This is my video update from St. Petersburg, Russia on this Tuesday afternoon, August the 1st. Let's talk about some news. And let's start off with the big news story, which is Gonzalo Lira. Gonzalo posted 3 videos on his YouTube channel, Gonzalo Lira again, and he also posted a Twitter thread. And he explains what has been going on over the past 2.5, 3 months since his arrest by the Elensky regime and the SBU. And I'm not going to get into the details of what happened, because Gonzalo pretty much lays it all out in his 3 videos and his Twitter thread. I will put a link to those videos as well as the Twitter thread in the description box down below. And you can hear it from Gonzalo himself as to what has been going on over the past 3 months, give or take. Nacionalny Dramaticheski Teatr Rossiya Alexandritsky Teatr. 30th of August, 1756 года. The Empress Elizabeth Petrovna. Wow. Alexandritsky Theater. Beautiful. So what I will discuss about the news about Gonzalo is that he was filming his video actually when he was 5 kilometers from the border with Hungary, Ukraine border with Hungary. He said he had taken his motorcycle from Kharkov. He was out on bail and his trial was in a couple of days. So he skipped bail, skipped the trial, and he rode his motorcycle across Ukraine to get to the border with Hungary, and he was 5 kilometers away. That's what he recorded his video. And he said he was going to cross over to Hungary and seek political asylum. That was his plan. He said he had a lot of different plans in mind, a lot of different options that he was considering. And according to Gonzalo, in his best judgment, as he weighed everything out, he concluded that the best option was to make his way to Hungary and to apply for political asylum. I will say that given Gonzalo's statements and testimony, with the extortion, the torture that he said he received when he was in prison in Ukraine, pretty horrible stuff. I would imagine that this is a pretty open and shut case for political asylum being granted to Gonzalo Lira. Keep in mind that Gonzalo has committed no crime. He was in prison in Ukraine because of YouTube videos, freedom of speech issue. And the Hungarian government should grant him political asylum. Now, if the Elensky regime wants Gonzalo back because he skipped on his trial, then I imagine that the Elensky regime is going to request from the European Union to put pressure on Hungary and for Hungary to return Gonzalo back to Ukraine, to extradite him back to Ukraine. Now, if the Elensky regime does not want Gonzalo back in Ukraine, let's just say they want to be done with this story and this issue, maybe the U.S. State Department wants to be done with this, then I imagine that they're not going to put pressure on the EU or Hungary to extradite Gonzalo back to Ukraine. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. Um, Gonzalo is he looked very worried in his video, and he asked for everybody's help. So people in Hungary that have access to uh, to people who know people that are in a position of, say, authority, or that have positions in the government, or who know people who can help Gonzalo from a legal standpoint, then absolutely get in contact with the people that you know, and hopefully we get a message from Gonzalo in the next day or two, and it's a message from Hungary, and he updates us as to his current status. But he's going to definitely need the help of the Hungarian people if he is allowed to cross over and get political asylum. Now, if Hungary is really pressured, let's say the Elensky regime, they want Gonzalo back, and they pressure the EU, who then pressures Hungary to send Gonzalo back, then Hungary should either allow Gonzalo temporary political asylum, and perhaps allow him safe passage to another country, let's say Serbia, which is not the European Union, or they could, and I believe this is a very interesting option, they could give Gonzalo a ticket, since he is a U.S. citizen, to the United States. And the U.S. does not have any type of extradition laws in place, and he is a U.S. citizen. So I imagine if he went to the United States, this entire saga would come to an end. So we'll see. We'll see what's going to happen over the next day or two, and we'll all be updated, because I'm pretty confident. I don't know anything that you don't know, but I've got a feeling that Gonzalo's going to update us as to what is going on. That's my hope. That's my hunch. But once again, I have no information that you don't have. So that's the update on Gonzalo. Lira Alexander explains a lot of the legal stuff in and around asylum cases in a video that we did on the Duran. It should go up on the Duran channel in the next hour or two. And Alexander, he understands asylum case law, and he understands exactly what the process is going to look like, or what could possibly happen in this instance. So look on the Duran channel for that update as well. So with that being said, let's talk about a New York Times article that came out the other day. By the way, I am here at right now. I was at the theater, and now I'm here at Catherine's garden, Yekaterinsky Sad. It's a beautiful garden. You can see the big statue of the Empress Catherine the Great. So we'll walk over to the statue in a bit. So the New York Times, they put out an article with a title. One second here. Let's see. Other counteroffensive drone attacks on Russian territory. So in this New York Times article, they talk about how the next greatest, biggest super duper plan from the Elensky regime is all about drones. That is the next plan that we're going to be seeing from the Elensky regime in this conflict. A drone attack, specifically focused on Moscow. Multiple drone attacks specifically focused on Moscow. And the New York Times claims that the Elensky regime, they're producing different types of drones. And these drones are going to be launched towards Moscow. And the goal is to create panic and anger in Russia, which will eventually lead to the downfall of the Russian government. So that is the the plan from the Elensky regime. It's crazy. It is crazy. But look, we had the big counteroffensive, right? For 3 months, they were going on and on again about the big counteroffensive, a lightning strike to the Sea of Azov, and then capturing all of Crimea by summer. Obviously, that did not turn out as the collective West was expecting. Then we had the big counteroffensive marathon, right? It was never going to be a lightning strike. It was not intended to be a quick sprint to the Sea of Azov. It was going to be a marathon, a very long, drawn out, 6 month long marathon where the Ukraine military would grind down the Russian military, and eventually they would end up in Crimea, and that would be the defeat of the Putin government. That didn't work out too well either. No one was buying that one. And then last week, we had the New York Times and the Washington Post. They reported on a big counteroffensive reboot, right? We're rebooting the counteroffensive, and it's a new plan, new strategy. And the Ukraine military is going to make a big push to capture Melitopol. And once they capture Melitopol, they're going to make another big push as the Russian forces panic and they throw down their weapons and they run away, run away. Then they're going to make a big push to the Sea of Azov. And then from the Sea of Azov, they're going to move artillery into position, and they're going to threaten attacks on Crimea. And that's going to give Ukraine leverage in negotiations with Russia, while at the same time that all of this is taking place, this big counteroffensive reboot, Jake Sullivan, Victoria Nuland, Blinken, they're going to launch a diplomatic offensive, and they're going to go to the countries in the global south and the countries that have not sanctioned Russia, and they are going to approach them and tell them that this conflict is over. You see, the Ukraine military, they have reached the borders of Crimea, and it's time for you to turn on Russia and to come with us, to come to the dark side. And that's the big counteroffensive reboot. Yeah, it didn't work out too well. I think that one is not working out too well, because the New York Times said that the big counteroffensive reboot would be 1 to 3 weeks long, and we're already in week 1 and we're approaching week 2, and nothing. There's been no gain from the Ukraine military. So anyway, now we are on drone attacks. That's where we are, drone attacks. So a whole bunch of drones are going to be launched on a daily basis towards Moscow, and the swarm of drones is going to lead to the collapse of the Putin government. That's the plan. This is really in line, this type of strategy and thinking really is in line with the collective West script writers and the Elensky regime production team, because it is absolutely crazy, ridiculous, desperate. It's absolutely desperate. And it's very cinematic, I guess you could say, a whole bunch of drones swarming across Russia and towards Moscow. I mean, anyway, that's the plan, everybody. And that's the New York Times reporting on the plan. Here's a tweet from Michael Tracy. Let me read you this tweet. Ukraine finally drops the charade and openly admits to ramping up long-range attacks inside Russia after months of blatant lying to US and EU audiences. Zelensky, May 14th. We don't attack Russian territory. Zelensky, July 30th. We're bringing the war to Russian territory. So I think that's the big takeaway from this drone attack strategy. The big takeaway is that for the past year and a half, the narrative from the collective West and from the Elensky regime is that they do not attack Russian territory, right? So that's been the big narrative. They're not a party, they're not a party to this war, and they do not attack Russian territory because they do not want this war to escalate. And now we are hearing from Elensky, the man himself, saying that he wants to take the war to Russian territory, that he will take this war to Russian territory, And we've had all kinds of admissions over the past couple of weeks that Ukraine was behind the attacks on the Kerch Bridge and the drone attacks in Moscow and all of these things that have happened on Russian territory. We have had Ukraine SBU and other Ukraine government officials take responsibility for these attacks. And now we have Elensky just openly admitting that Ukraine's plan now is to take the war into Russian territory. That's not going to work out too well for the Elensky regime. It's not going to work out well at all. Sergei Shoigu, he was speaking to military commanders the other day, and he came out with some numbers connected to Ukraine's losses in July. And he said that the Ukraine military had lost 20,824 service members and 2,227 units of military equipment. So things are looking pretty bad and pretty desperate for the Elensky regime. Let's walk over to the statue of the Empress Catherine, and we'll continue to talk about some news. You know, Elensky, he gave an interview to Brazilian media yesterday, and he's begging Brazil to help provide military aid and money to his regime. He also wants Brazil to lobby Latin America and get Latin America on side with Ukraine and to stop supporting Russia. So that's what he told Brazilian media, and his ask of President Lula is for money and weapons. People of Brazil, what I want is money and weapons, so I can buy many homes in Rio de Janeiro. And Elensky also said in this interview, he also said that the support that he has received from the United States and the collective West was simply not enough. That's what he said. It is not enough. 300, 400, 500 billion that he has received in military aid and unaudited, unaccounted for money is simply not enough. So now he wants to tap into Brazil and Latin America so he can get more money. Unbelievable. Beautiful statue of the Empress Catherine. Beautiful gardens. So let's take a walk in the streets of St. Petersburg, and we can talk about what's going on in the United States, which is also connected to Ukraine, because when we talk about the Biden alleged corruption, Hunter Biden and Joe Biden, all roads lead back to Ukraine and Burisma. And so we had Devin Archer testify to Congress behind closed door testimony. And Devin Archer, he pretty much testified and stated the things that we already know. And that is that the Biden family, they put Hunter Biden in as a board member of Burisma so that they would provide protection to the Ukraine energy firm. Or actually, Burisma put Hunter Biden, as well as Devin Archer, as board members so that the then Vice President of the United States would provide protection to Burisma, as well as protection to Burisma's founder and managing director, Mr. Zlochevsky, who was at the time being investigated by then Ukraine prosecutor Shokin. So Devin Archer, he testified to Congress about all of these things, the protection that then Vice President Biden was providing to Burisma, providing to Zlochevsky, how then Vice President Biden got Shokin, the prosecutor from Ukraine, how he got him fired. And he also said that having Hunter Biden on the board of Burisma helped the Burisma brand. He actually called it the brand. That's what he called Hunter Biden's appointment to the board of directors. It was beneficial to the brand Burisma because at the time, Burisma was looking to perhaps go public in the United States to list on a stock exchange, and they needed some brand help. They needed some good branding, and what better branding than Hunter Biden on your board of directors and Joe Biden as Vice President of the United States, looking after your company and its business dealings. So that was what Devon Archer said in this testimony. Now, the Democrats, the narrative that they're running with is that all of this is all well and good. And yes, Hunter Biden had some shady business dealings with Burisma and all of these characters in Ukraine. But where's the smoking gun? Where is the evidence? Where are the facts that connect then Vice President Biden to all of this mischief? That is what the Democrats are saying. This is all on Hunter Biden, and there is no connection to any of this with the now president of the United States. So that's their narrative. That's how they have interpreted Devon Archer's testimony. And that's what I imagine the collective West mainstream media is going to run with. Hunter Biden, yeah, he got mixed up with some bad people, and he did some dubious things in Ukraine with Burisma, but none of this is connected to Joe Biden. So that's going to be the narrative, the two narratives going forward in this Burisma case. And we also had an interesting revelation from Devon Archer during his testimony as well, which is connected to the former Moscow mayor's wife and her investment dealings in the United States. And this story is courtesy of Zero Hedge and the Daily Mail. And I am going to, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to cross over and walk down the canal, and I'm going to read you what the Daily Mail and Zero Hedge are reporting in connection with the former Moscow mayor's wife and her investment dealings in Ukraine, in the United States. Sorry. Jet ski. A jet ski in St. Petersburg. So let's take a right turn. And let's talk about this story here, because I find this to be a very interesting story that Zero Hedge and the Daily Mail are reporting on. Let me see if I've bookmarked it. Yes, I have. So the title of the Zero Hedge article is Joe Biden met with Moscow mayor's wife before 3.5 million wire to Hunter, according to Devin Archer. While former Hunter Biden business partner Devin Archer spills the beans about Burisma, Joe and the Biden family dealings, the Daily Mail revealed on Monday that Hunter Biden's real estate firm received a $40 million investment from a Russian oligarch, Yelena Baturina, the billionaire widow of the former mayor of Moscow. Baturina also wired $3.5 million to a Hunter-linked company in what her brother, Victor Baturin, tells the Daily Mail was a payment to enter the American market, and which, as Devin Archer testified on Monday, kept her off the sanctions list. The DailyMail.com can now reveal that Hunter's financial relationship with Baturina was far more extensive, with her firm investing $40 million in a real estate venture by Hunter's company, Rosemont Realty. In 2012, Hunter's firm had a $69.7 million plan to invest in 2.15 million square feet of office space in 7 U.S. cities. Documents outlining the plan said the money came from a mix of investors, including $40 million from Inteco Management AG, a Swiss company owned by Baturina. The Inteco Group is a plastics and construction behemoth that made Baturina the richest woman in Russia at the time. She has a current net worth of $1.4 billion, according to Forbes. The Daily Mail is reporting. Zero Hedge then says that now we find from Devin Archer that Joe Biden met with Baturina in Georgetown before the $40 million investment, after which she was left off the Biden administration's sanctions list. Last year, Karine Jean-Pierre refused to say why Biden didn't sanction Russian billionaire Elena Baturina, nor if Biden met with her in Georgetown while he was VP. Today, Hunter's former business partner testified that meeting did in fact happen. The Biden administration's public sanctions list for Russian oligarchs does not contain Baturina. That's a tweet from Chad Pergram. And Zero Hedge concludes this article by saying, and your daily reminder that Trump was impeached for simply asking about shady Biden family dealings. So there you have it. Now we know why this billionaire, this Russian oligarch, married to the former Moscow mayor, was not sanctioned. We also learned that Hunter Biden had a real estate company. Pretty incredible stuff. Hunter Biden is an accomplished painter, an accomplished artist, sells paintings for $500,000. He's an accomplished author with $1 million book deal. He's an accomplished lawyer, of course. He's a gas expert, a gas and energy expert to the tune of $80,000 a month. And he's a venture capitalist as well, because he has the venture firm Rosemont Seneca. And finally, he's a real estate mogul. Oh, man. All right. So before we get to our clown world, what should we talk about? How about the fact that Mexico is not going to take part in this Jake Sullivan, U.S., Saudi, Ukraine peace summit, if you want to call it a peace summit. So Mexico was invited to take part in this peace summit that's going to be taking place in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia on August 5th and 6th. And Mexico said, we're not going to show up. They're not going to show up because, according to Mexico, this is no peace summit without Russia. How can you have a summit that tries to solve the crisis in Ukraine and not invite Russia to that event? So Mexico was like, this is a joke. This is stupid. we're not going to waste our time to attend this event, and that's that. It looks like China's not going to attend either. And we're going to wait on what other countries that have been invited to this event are going to respond with. I wonder if India is going to attend, and I wonder if Brazil is going to be there, and I wonder who they're going to send if they do decide to attend this fictitious, bogus peace summit in Saudi Arabia. Of course, Saudi Arabia, I think they're doing all of this so that they can get the U.S. off their back, because the U.S. is probably pressuring Saudi Arabia like every minute of every hour of every day to ditch Russia and to sanction Russia. And I bet you Saudi Arabia is just like, let's just host this summit, and it's easy for us to do. Doesn't cost us anything, and we can get the U.S. off our back if we host this event. No one's going to take it seriously anyway. So I bet you that's why Saudi Arabia is doing this. So let's do some clown worlds. And the first clown world is from a wrestling event. Oh, sorry, a weightlifting event. A weightlifting event. And Ukraine appears to have won this weightlifting competition. Now, I thought this was an old video, but for some reason it's gone viral. Maybe it's not an old video. Maybe it's a recent event. But this video has gone viral. I imagine it's going viral because of the fencing controversy that took place a couple of days ago, where the Ukraine fencer refused to shake the hand of the Russian fencer, and then she was disqualified, then got reinstated, and then was giving an automatic spot on the Olympics. And I imagine that's why this video also went viral, because the Ukraine weightlifter, he refused to shake the hand of the Iranian weightlifter. Now, the Ukraine weightlifter was getting the gold medal. I think the Iranian weightlifter got the silver or bronze, but he went to shake hands with the gold medal winner. And the competitor from Ukraine, he refused to shake the Iranian weightlifter's hand. Pretty crazy stuff, huh? All because Iran has good relations with Russia. That was enough for this weightlifter to refuse to shake the hand of the Iranian weightlifter. Anyway, that's the video, everybody. theduran.locals.com. We are on Rumble, Odyssey, BitChute, Telegram, and Rockfin. And go to the Duran shop, 10% off. Use the code GOODDAY. And if you want to stick with me, I'm going to walk across the bridge over there. So it'll probably take me 5 minutes, probably less time, to get to the bridge and walk across it. So if you want to stay with me, that would be great. If you want to watch another video, maybe a Duran video, maybe Alexander's video, that would also be pretty cool. But let's walk over to the bridge and let's cross that bridge, and then I'll say my goodbyes to everybody. I'm trying to think if I have another news story to talk about as we walk over to the bridge. Oh, here's one. How about the Russian electronic visa, which came into effect today, August 1st. So Russia, the foreign ministry, I believe to 55 or 60 countries, they're going to be able to issue an e-visa. They'll be allowed, people that want to visit Russia for tourism or business, they'll be able to apply online and receive within a matter of days or hours, like very quickly, they'll be able to receive an e-visa, an electronic visa. And that visa will grant you entry into the Russian Federation for a total of 16 days. And the visa is good for 60 days. So that's awesome. that is awesome. If you want to visit Russia, you can now do it all online, and 16 days, that's a good amount of time to spend in this beautiful country. So that was interesting news, good news, because travel brings us closer together, and it's important to travel and to visit different places, learn different things, meet different people, and just have a good time. So, good move on the Russian Foreign Ministry. I have been talking about how the Russian Foreign Ministry needs to open up the pathways to travel instead of closing them down like the European Union does. And it looks like the Foreign Ministry has done just that. So today, August 1st, you have an e-visa that has come into effect for 55 to 60 countries. And there are also plans in the works for tourists to be able to receive a virtual Mir card. So Russia is also solving the payment problem for tourists, which came about because Visa and MasterCard decided to do the bonehead thing and pull out of the Russian market, which was stupid and dumb because they opened things up for the Mir card, and now the Mir card is super popular and works really well, adopted by everybody here in Russia and most of the Ruski Mir, hence the Mir card, which is the world card. And the Russian government now is also putting together a system where if you're a tourist and you're traveling to Russia, you'll be able to get a virtual Mir card. And I think it's going to be like a sticker that you place on the back of your mobile phone, and you'll be able to make purchases here in Russia as well. I don't know how it's connected to your banking system or SWIFT or anything like that. I don't have the exact technical details, but they're working on it. And I think that's going to solve one of the biggest problems when you travel to Russia, which is, if you're coming from the West, which is how do I electronically pay for things? You have cash, and of course, cash is king, but using a Visa or MasterCard from the West is always a trouble. It's always a bit of a trouble when you're in Russia nowadays. So anyway, that's the video, everybody. I'm signing out. Take care.